What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Fed Dead Redemption. We're in the early time slot this week, but it's good to be here. Did a little flip with the Fleet Week boys, but yeah, we're here. Robert O'Neill, Oracle Wrestling, here to break down the past week in the World Wrestling Federation. Oracle, how you doing, pal?
Doing well. I am in a much different situation than I was last week, where I had just gotten up. I've been up for about 12 hours now. I woke up at 6 a.m. because that's what I do. I do weird things like that on the weekend.
Yeah, that was crazy because Joe was messaging us about if we wanted to flip today, and it was like 8 o'clock here, and you responded right away. I didn't think you'd be up.
Yeah, I was awake. I did respond quickly as we game planned. We've got last week was more so of a pay-per-view review with the Big Elimination Chamber in Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
But this week, tonight, we're gonna kind of slowly roll out our ideas that we've planned out to try to make this show a little bit more flavorful, a little bit more interesting, a little bit more colorful. So we've got some cool ideas, and we'll be sprinkling them in here, and we'll probably add some more stuff throughout as we continue down the road to the new Fed Dead. Um, what should we
Yeah.
start with, Bobby?
So actually, I did want to start with, they did the Cody and Paul Heyman segment again, and it felt a little bit different than the first one they did. I don't know if it's because Paul was via satellite or it just kind of felt rushed. And I know, like Dave said, oh, it's because they didn't want Sammy Chance. I don't know how much I believe that because Cody still got a really good reaction. But yeah, what'd you think of the second, Cody Rhodes Paul Heyman segment?
I didn't like it. I really, and I'm sure you probably saw my tweets. I really thought Raw was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was not a good follow up at all to the
Yeah,
Chamber weekend.
it felt like a lot of the people that were on the Elimination Chamber card, they kind of held out of Raw.
Yeah, yeah, and there was discussion of it, and there was a rumor mill of Vince being back. It honestly felt like Vince had his hands on that show.
Mm-hmm.
And for what it's worth, I know Wade Keller shut that rumor down or whatever, and what I think Vince has been calling Triple H or whatever, and Triple H has been kind of a puppet since January, anyways.
Yeah.
Um, I just think it's more so Vince just. I mean, he's not in Gorilla screaming at people in commentary anymore right
Mm-hmm.
now, but I do think he's probably getting his hands on stuff now, and I think that probably bled through some on Monday, though I don't think it was. It was probably a knee-jerk reaction on my part, but it was such a lackluster effort from them that it did make me, raise my eyebrows a little bit about whether or not he's really starting to get his hands back on the creative side of things. Just the whole show in general, just to kind of like, I know, like I'm just gonna kind of run through things about
Yeah,
why I
sure.
didn't like the show. Like, I mean, yeah, we have Dark Oscar or whatever, and she was doing the ooze thing, with the Carmella segment, but
Mm-hmm.
that with Bianca didn't really hit. Uh, um, mm,
Uh-oh.
just it. And of course, there I go again with my bad laptop. But
There we go.
this will probably happen, folks, until I get the money to get a new laptop. So
Yeah, no, but as you try to get back here, I'll kind of take over. Yeah, Raw overall was like
uh,
it. Yeah,
hello, hi,
there we go.
hey,
Now I think we're good.
yay. Yeah, that's what happens when you use a 6.5-year-old laptop. Yeah, this is gonna unfortunately gonna happen pretty frequently for me. It could just be
It's all right.
updates,
We're
but
good.
I think it could just be updates, folks. But I think it's probably time for a new laptop. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's just the Oscar segment didn't really hit. Too much comedy stuff. The matches were short.
Yeah,
I really thought, and going back to the Cody Heyman segment, I really thought it was just a weak segment. Like, um, I don't know, it just didn't hit for me. The biggest positive is like what you mentioned. Uh, Cody got a nice reaction,
yeah,
in Ottawa, and I think people were, concerned about that. Um, I guess the Sammy KO segment was enjoyable for a lot of people.
that was good.
I mean, it was good, but it's not necessarily what I wanna see.
Yeah,
I wish they had already mended fences, reluctantly on the pay-per-view and not done
hmm
this build, but again, we talked about that last week where they're probably gonna do this 6-week thing where, they have to bleed it, out a little bit, which is I don't know. Um, but I thought it was a bad Raw overall.
yeah. Yeah, and then just kind of specifically with the Cody and Heyman stuff, like it doesn't seem like Roman's going to be there tomorrow, which is fine. I mean, it is what
Yeah.
it is. Next week is John Cena, so I don't think they're going to have Roman and Cena. Both, I think the story is going to be Cena. So now you're looking at least 2 weeks before we actually get a face to face, unless Cody goes to SmackDown. But Roman, wasn't even on SmackDown, so it's like I don't know how much longer you can have, these Paul Heyman and Cody Rhodes segments. Maybe
Yeah.
if they're both in the ring, it'll go a little bit better because that first one was very good. But yeah, this one felt off, and it's not what you want. And I mean, I think we're both kind of in the same place as far as the feud in the match. We are excited for it. It's just a matter of getting there.
Yeah, I also just didn't like the just the Brandy Rhodes remark, and
Yeah.
it seems so. I mean, it's definitely a Heyman thing to do, anyways. And part of first I was like, "That's a Vince thing." I was like, "That's actually really a Heyman thing to do
hmm
something crass like that." Because I mean, we all know he's pretty much got his booking
Yeah.
chops all over
He's
this.
he's doing a lot of the bloodline stuff. Yeah.
Um, it just I thought it was weak. Roman, he's gonna be on SmackDown next week, right? And he's probably gonna confront Jay.
Yep.
Probably gonna do some court or whatever with Jay and Jimmy. Um, I think I don't think that's gonna involve Cody.
Probably not.
Um, but you know, at some point they're gonna have to do the face to face. Um, they'll definitely do it. I think you could probably circle the March 13th show.
Yeah.
As probably when they're gonna do that.
That's fair.
They might do one more after that.
Yeah,
Um,
because Roman's booked for the Raw I'm going to, so that's March 20th. So
yeah. So, they'll probably do, eventually a, physical confrontation at some point.
mhm.
Just, very brief. Um, although I think you have to be careful how, I mean, like you probably don't want to do a tag. I think it's best to do, I don't know, depending on what, the route that they go, when we get to Mania and the result and whatnot, we might not see Roman for a while
I
after it.
think so.
So,
Yeah.
it's possible they try to just throw in a 6-man tag, and not have Cody and Roman touch very much at all,
Mhm.
in a 6-man tag and they go home Raw or the SmackDown like 8 days before or something.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that happening. But yeah, I think it's probably another 2.5 weeks or so before we get a face to face.
Yeah. And I mean, they have what, 8 weeks between the Rumble and Mania, so I mean, it's a lot of time to fill, I get that, but, like, I don't know, you've already done this twice and it already kind of feels stale, so it's gonna be interesting to see what they do tomorrow.
Yeah.
Um, so the other kind of really big thing coming out of Raw is that MVP on behalf of Omos challenged Brock Lesnar, which I don't think any of us are really expecting. I know we were trying to figure out last week, like, what are they going to do with Brock? What are they going to do with Lashley? And Lashley seems to be facing Bray. Maybe he mentioned him a little bit in the Firefly Funhouse, but yeah, this Brock and Omos thing seems to be happening. Everyone seems to. I know Dave said that that's actually the plan. It's not a swerve. So, how do you arrive at that?
Um, Vince McMahon.
I mean,
I'm
yeah,
I'm convinced of it. Um, like I just don't think that was the plan
no,
a few weeks ago, and I think Vince got his hands on there and said, "Oh, oh, I got an idea, at like 4 a.m., on the phone call with Hunter. Um, like, I honestly think it's a Vince thing. Uh,
Yeah, well, because I mean, listen, since Brock came back, he's only worked Roman and Lashley, so maybe that's a Brock thing. He only wants to work, these guys, and they don't want to do another Lashley match. But then why set it up the way you did at Elimination Chamber, where you kind of set up for a fourth one? So, like, I get it from that perspective, but I don't know, man. There's got to be something a little bit better than Omos, and I like Omos. I think it'll be cool to see him go up for an F5 or whatever. But like, as far as a WrestleMania match for a guy like Brock Lesnar, it's not there.
no, it doesn't work. Um, I'm sorry, I was just reading the comments. Brian Alvarez says it seems very Vince, but I think it's also Triple H. Not
That's
bother as
fair.
long as, yeah, that's
I
true.
mean, Triple H and Vince, I think it's safe to say, are in very different camps on Brock.
Mhm.
So
Oh, yeah.
it's
Oh, yeah, for
possible.
sure. And to be fair, a lot of people think this is like a red flag or whatever, some sort of red herring. I don't know. We can only find out tomorrow.
Yeah.
I kind of hope it is in a way, but I don't know. Brock and Omos, there's no way they go more than like 3 or 4 minutes.
No.
And I can't see Omos getting any sort of convincing offense on Brock. I don't know. The whole thing, not to mention an F5. I don't know. I feel like it's a match set up for Brock to get very angry.
Yeah, because
And
Omos, or Brock has had good sprints, obviously, but Omos isn't
yeah.
the type of guy I think that can even do a sprint.
No, no, I don't think so. This is fascinating development, and I don't know. I don't know how they're going to put this together. And again, it could be a red. It could just be a trick, but
Hmm.
I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, because when they announced it, it's like, okay, Brock's going to come out, and then like Lashley and the rest of the Hurt Business are going to be reformed, and they're going to kind of corner him and attack him, and that made a little bit of sense. But now it doesn't seem. It kind of seems like they're doing Lashley and Bray. I know he kind of only mentioned him like in passing, but they brought it up in the Firefly Funhouse, so it's like,
Yeah, I don't understand. Like they never actually gave a conclusion to Brock and Bobby, which is stupid.
yeah.
I don't know.
It really seems like they planned this Bray thing and then told both of them about it, at Elimination Chamber, and both Brock and Lashley said they didn't want to do it, and now they're here. So,
Yeah, that's very possible. You know what? People are joking and or maybe half joking or not joking at all, but in these comments, these tag suggestions are not the worst things in the world.
it's not awful.
Um, I don't hate the ideas. Although Brock and Bray as a tag team is hilarious. I don't know how that would work,
No.
but Brock being anywhere near the Bray Wyatt multiverse is seems uh probably silly at best, but
Let's see. You guys have any thoughts on the report that came out saying talent are mad they're missing Mania because Triple H is limiting the card, then he might be booking a Monsters Brock? I don't really see how you can limit the card with 2 nights, really. Like, that was the whole thing. And I don't have a problem with, one night, 4 hour show where some people do miss the card. That's not a big deal to me. That was never an issue. It was an issue when it was, a 7 hour show.
yeah, the thing is with those 7-hour shows, nobody really missed the card either,
Yeah,
really.
exactly.
Um, I wish it was still a 4-hour show. I wish they did a 4-hour show on Saturday night.
Yeah,
Just one.
that'd be great.
Although I won't lie, I mean, there's always like since they've done it 3 times now, there's always like a nice like high you get after night 1 where you're like, "Oh yeah, we get another one tomorrow." But it's just like I don't know, I still wish it was just 4 hours on a Saturday. That would be like the perfect thing. But I don't know. There's gonna be anywhere between 12 and 16 matches, right?
Yeah.
Like over 2 nights. That's plenty. I don't know. I mean, I don't know who they're gonna leave off the card that, is necessarily gonna matter. I guess if AJ isn't healed up, but that's an injury thing and
Yeah,
not
he's
really,
hurt. Some of the Raw mid-card guys, I guess, because it's gonna be Theory and Cena for the US title, or
Oh,
allegedly. I mean,
oh, shucks,
maybe some
Johnny
of those
Gargano
guys.
couldn't make the show. That's so
Yeah.
upsetting. Um, Dexter Loomis, oh dang.
Mhm.
Like these I don't know, like these it's not like they couldn't find interesting things to do or at least set up programs for them or anything. It's just I don't know. It's just you don't have to be on Mania. Everybody doesn't have to. I'm actually someone who isn't opposed to the battle royal idea and throw them out there on a Friday and just give them a Mania payday because it's the
Mhm.
weekend. That's probably the best solution, and that's probably what they'll do anyways.
I think so.
Um, I know that that's probably not. I mean, I get it. Like if you're talent and you want to be on the Mania show, I get it. But WrestleMania is supposed to be a big deal. It's not supposed to be a show where everybody gets on.
Yeah, that's the
And,
thing,
and
like
again, I've always liked the battle royal concept because it's a way to get everybody a Mania payday without having to, you know,
yeah. Well, and that's the other thing, like, I think they just kinda get paid, like, a flat amount per, pay-per-view now just because
that's
they don't have
true.
those metrics anymore.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, that's true. So
Um,
even then, it's more like I don't know. I guess it means more now, but at the same time, so what?
yeah, that's true. Um, do we have any other big stories of the week that we wanted to talk about? I know SmackDown, the, 6-man was pretty good. There's
Yeah,
not a lot else there, but, kind of a down week for TV for them, but, they're setting
SmackDown
pieces.
was okay. SmackDown was a little bit better. I saw some folks say they didn't care for SmackDown either, but it was okay. SmackDown wasn't that bad.
Mhm.
They seem to have kind of jumping up into next week and what they've built. They seem to really make next week kind of a big women's week in terms
Yes.
of there's like 5 women's matches booked over the 2 shows, right?
Yeah, I know Raw's got 3. They're doing the tag title match, and I don't remember the other 2 off the top of my head. I just know it's, Becky and Lita against Damage Control.
Mhm.
I don't think they're gonna win. I think they're gonna do Damage Control against Ronda and Shayna at WrestleMania, and then Bayley and probably Becky will have one more match. I get because I don't know what you do with Bayley and Becky. If Becky's in the tag match, that's fine, I guess. But like, then you're doing Becky and Ronda in that format instead of just doing a singles match. It doesn't really add up to me because it seems like Ronda and Shayna are going to be in the tag title match.
Yeah, it feels that way. And to be fair to them, the weirdest good match I've seen in a long time was that Natty and Shotzi versus Ronda and Shayna tag from a few weeks ago. That was
That was
like
great. I like that.
shockingly good.
Hmm.
Um, Ronda was actually trying for the first time in this run. You could tell she was trying, um, which was nice to see because her effort has just been zero since
Yeah.
for the entire run. But um, yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I don't know. Um, what was the deal with Trish? Why did she leave early in the show? Was that ever?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like they have something else that they want to do, but like I think they brought her in for Raw 30 as well, and she left, or one of the other shows. It seems like she's going to factor into all this, but they didn't want to do it quite yet, so I don't know exactly what that means.
Odd. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So, but yeah, it should be a pretty good week. They got a lot of women's stuff going up. It, and we'll see what they do as far as like we talked about with Cody and Roman, and it should be fine going forward. Like I don't know. I think I'm a little bit less excited for WrestleMania than I was a week ago, but it doesn't mean it's going to be bad necessarily. It's just,
Right.
they added a couple matches that don't really do anything for me personally, but we'll see. All right. If we don't have
Yeah.
anything left to
Yeah.
talk about from the week, yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah. I was just gonna say that like yeah. I mean it's I don't know. I'm a little bit more interested in this week because they've set it up at least with all these you know sort of they kind of made it like a week for the women.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting week in that regard, and I think Is it Women's History Month in March?
I believe it is, yes.
Yeah, that might have. I know tomorrow's technically still February, but then that
Yeah.
might have something to do with them. That's just how WWE does. They operate with that mindset. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's Women's History Month. Let's do something that like that. That's kind of how they operate. That's an interesting
Yeah,
rumor.
Andrew said, rumor is Trish is turning heel to join Bailey and didn't want to do it in Canada, which would be smart if that is the plan to not do that
Mhm.
in Canada. So I guess we'll see if she shows up tomorrow or I know they're in Boston, but like I said, I think Cena's going to be the big thing next week. I know they'll bring a couple more guys in, maybe, but it feels like Cena coming back in Boston is going to be the big story next week. So
Hold up. Well, we'll get to it because
yeah,
we're gonna start rolling out our special segments here in a minute.
yes,
But and just to be clear, we're gonna try to break down what we think the Mania card is gonna be every week leading up to it. But I'm
hmm
gonna go ahead and throw this out there, and then we'll talk about it later. Do you think they do Becky and Lita versus Trish and Bailey, and then Damage Control versus Ronda and Shayna? Or maybe Damage Control versus Ronda, Shayna, and then two other tag teams in a four-way tag. You
yeah,
think
they
they do
could.
that?
The thing is, if you have Becky and Ronda in the same match, it's a tag match. It just kind of
Yeah,
loses.
that's true, but I don't think they're gonna do that. I think they're gonna do Becky and Lita
Oh, okay,
versus Bailey and Trish separately,
okay,
and then
just
they're
like a
gonna do a four-way
non-title
tag
match,
to
or
get Natty and Shotzi in there and whoever else in there.
okay, yeah, that's interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll have to see. We'll go back to our Mania card in a little bit, but first we have a segment. Yeah, we talk about the house shows quite a bit on these shows. It's kind of been a thing since we started. So now we will see what the World Wrestling Federation had to offer last night at their house show and see if either of us would buy a ticket. It's called Would You Buy a Ticket? And we have our special correspondent, Joe Holbert, breaking down the card from last night. Joe.
Folks, I'm here on behalf of the Fed Dead fellas. Very special occasion. Program reboot underway. I'm sure things are going great. I'm sure Bob is sipping his water furiously. I'm sure things are in a great rhythm right now. So I'm not going to keep you for too long. But I'm here for the very first. Would you buy a ticket? Each week I'll be reading a WWF live event card. I'll be throwing it back to Bobby and Oracle and asking again, would they buy a ticket? I will always be filming them this way, hoping to evoke the kind of energy and enthusiasm that Bob has often utilised with this kind of film format. So here we go, folks. We're starting hot. We head to Champaign, Illinois. Starting hot. Becky Lynch and Bailey continue their ongoing feud from Monday Night Raw. We then get your good old-fashioned all-star tag. The OC, the Good Brothers, Gallows and Gunn, the Big LG Luke Gallows, and the Machine Gun, Carl Anderson, opposite the All-Stars of Dominic Mysterio and Damian Priest. Speaking of All-Stars, Ronda Rousey is here. She's teamed with Shayna Baszler to take on Natalya and Tegan Nox. Solo Sikoa and the Usos. My God. Up against Braun Strowman, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre. A banger, some would say. Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, and the World Wrestling Federation's lead protagonist, opposite fellow club alumnus Finn Balor. Literal lights out street fight. The non-fiend Bray Wyatt, opposite LA Knight. And it appears that is very much a literal. This is not Watts. This is the lights are just not on. Anyway, SmackDown Women's title. The Queen, Charlotte Flair. Everyone loves Charlotte Flair. She defends the title against heavy hitters Sonya Deville, Liv Morgan, and Zoe Stark. And then the main event. I've got a theory. Here he is. The A-Town merchant, Jack Crosby's favourite, the US champion, Austin Theory, defending against Oracle's very own Seth freaking Rollins. There it is, Champaign, Illinois. Bob, Oracle. Would you buy a ticket? He wouldn't.
Honestly, that's not a bad show.
No,
The
not
first
at
half
all.
is very good. I would probably leave after the Cody match, to be honest with you. I don't need to see Bray and LA Knight, and no offense to Liv, but I don't need to see Charlotte and Zoe Stark and Sonya, and I definitely don't need to see Theory and Seth Rollins. But everything up to that is very good. Like, you got that 6-man tag sounds great. Braun and Sheamus and what was it, Drew? I believe was the other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even Ronda and Shayna against Natty and Tegan might have been fine. They don't have match times on here, but yeah, I'd buy a ticket for that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I would. I think there's enough good stuff on there because I mean it's a super card with both brands, so
Yeah.
there's some of that stuff is stinkers. But I will say when they do stuff in the live crowd, other than maybe the Fiend match, um, the other stuff might not be so bad that
Mhm.
typically I wouldn't love. But yeah, I definitely buy a ticket. I would, begrudgingly sit through the stuff I wouldn't want to see, but that 6-man in particular sounds awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, just for me, like, if you go over the card in your head after you see Cody and you're like, who else do I really need to see? Can I get out of here early? And you probably could have for this one. No offense if you like Liv Morgan or Charlotte Flair. All offense if you like Bray Wyatt. But yeah, good show overall. I would have enjoyed this one, I think. So thanks to Joe for sending in a video. Was not expecting it to be 3 minutes long. Very thorough. Appreciated that. The rocking back and forth was a good touch as well. Yeah, that was Would You Buy a Ticket? We both agreed that we would buy a ticket. So now move on to This Week in WWE History. Like back when they're trying to sell WWE 24/7. Now we don't have anything to sell, but that's okay. Oracle, 22 years ago yesterday, an
Mm.
event called No Way Out 2001 took place. Would you like to set the stage a little bit? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but it's an interesting time
Yeah.
for the WWF.
So I was 8 years old. Uh, I remember this weekend, and I might have you do a little bit of research for me, Bobby.
Yeah.
So there was a WWF volume, whatever it was, music volume number. I can't remember what it was. It was the one with the rock with the pie on the
Yes, I
cover.
saw a tweet about that the other day. It was the same around the same
Weekend.
time. Yeah, the week
We
earlier.
bought that CD, or my parents bought that CD for my brother Dustin and I that weekend. I remember it very vividly because we played it, ad nauseum over and over and over again. We went to bed with the damn thing. Um, yeah, imagine an 8 and 11-year-old going to bed with a Rocks Pie song. But I remember that weekend very well. It's weird. This is one of the few shows where I remember seeing the show. Like, I'm not certain if we ordered the show,
Mhm.
but I know for a fact we had a VHS copy of either we did watch it live and we taped it, or a friend of ours did, because I remember we had the VHS tape for a long time. Great show. Uh, awesome matches up and down the card. Um, the two main events, Austin Triple H and Rock and Angle, are tremendous. Austin Triple H is one of the more touted matches of the entire Attitude Era, and really
Yes.
of the entire company.
Mhm.
The 3 Stages of Hell match, great match. Um, Rock and Angle is awesome,
Excellent.
like an totally underrated match that not
Yep.
enough people talk about. Just an excellent match. Um, I think there's like a fun Big Show Raven hardcore title match on that show.
Yeah, that's the opener. Yep.
There's of course Eddie, Benoit, X-Pac, and Jericho, which is a
Hmm.
solid 4-way for the IC belt.
Yeah.
There's
Stephanie
that
against Trish.
awesome there's that awesome Stephanie Trish match. Yeah.
That's very good.
Fucking
And
rules.
they get Regal
Yeah.
involved. He doesn't know what to do. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an awesome, just a classic show. Honestly, probably like a top 25 WWF show, like of the entire company and paper. Like, honestly, that good. Like, it's a
Hmm.
really, really great show.
Yeah, you got the Dudleys and Edge and Christian,
That's
Kane
right.
and Undertaker in the tables match. It's
Yeah,
very good.
and Rikishi and Haku interfere.
Hmm.
Yeah, because they were
Yeah,
feuding with Taker and Kane at the time.
yeah. No, it's an awesome show. I know everyone really remembers the Three Stages of Hell match, but like you said, Rocket Angle's excellent and kind of one of the rare times they did a title change at the February pay per view.
Mhm.
And they've done it obviously a couple times since then. We talked about it a little bit last week, but yeah, just a really good. And we talked about how those February pay per views can be hit or miss, but this one is probably the best No Way Out, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it probably is. There were actually like I always
Mm.
think I always think about '04 when Eddie won the belt, which the undercard's not great, but
Yeah.
it's solid enough in the Cow Palace. Um, and then they had No Way Out '06, which is a great show, and you always tout that the Angle Taker
Oh,
match,
I love that
which
match.
is awesome. But yeah, it's still even with all the like '08 with the first one where they did the Chambers is really good.
Hmm.
But this probably still is the best No Way Out, of all time.
Yeah.
I think '01's still probably number 1, even with those really good shows that we got in the 2000s.
Hmm. Yeah. So if you've never seen No Way Out 2001, go out of your way to check it out. It's very good. Good question from Don't Have an At. Since this is a poll on Twitter this week, would you rather give creative control to Hogan or Bray? I feel like if Hogan has it, well, this is like peak Hogan, not Hogan now, but like at least you have a guy on top who is popular. I mean, I know Bray is popular in the building, but obviously Hogan was such a bigger deal. And if you watch the NWO A&E documentary, that's the only time Hogan uses creative control was against Sting. So he only used it once. So if he's only going to use it one time, it's fine. I don't really believe that, but Um, but Bray with creative control isn't as bad for your business necessarily, and it's not going to hold guys down. It's just, a lot of people aren't going to care about it. So I'd probably go with Hogan. But it's tough.
Man, I just might not watch anymore. I don't know if I can pick an answer for that.
All right, let's see. So we can go back to our WrestleMania card, kind of update a little bit here. We still have a handful of matches locked in from last week. I think maybe for now we need to take Bailey and Becky out of there.
Yeah, so we can discuss these tag theories that I've brought up
Yeah,
if you want.
of course.
What like of course, the whole Trish thing has to happen and possibly tomorrow.
Hmm.
Um, how do you feel about what I threw out there, which would be Becky and Lita versus Trish and Bailey in their tag match of its own on one night, and then Damage Control of Dakota and Io defending the belts against Ronda and Shayna. I don't know, Natty and Shotzi, and then um, you know what? They could do a turmoil if they really wanted to get a lot of people on there, or they could
Oh
just do
yeah.
a Royal on SmackDown. But like, I feel like it'd be multiple tag teams in there for the tag titles, not just two.
I really like the idea of Trish coming back as a heel because she hasn't been a
Mhm.
heel since 2005, right?
Yeah,
2004. I mean, every time anyone comes back, they're mostly just a babyface now. So like that'd be a really cool element. I think it could bring out more of Bailey because I know since she came back, we've kind of had our issues with her more or less, and I think that could really bring out an interesting new side of her. So I'd be cool with a tag match. I would honestly almost prefer a tag match to just doing Bailey and Becky again.
yeah. I think I'm with you there. I think that's a more interesting dynamic, honestly,
Mm.
because you can kind of like it's a Legends match, like you kind of revive the Trish Lita dynamic, and then have Becky and Bailey, and I it's kind of a shame that it kind of needs that, but you kind of give the Becky Bailey rivalry that boost of heat that it needs.
Yes. Um. Okay, so we'll add those two. Obviously, all the title matches and Seth and Logan Paul are locked in. I think Lashley and Brock probably not anymore. We'll just leave those two open for now. I guess we'll go with Brock Omos and Bray and Lashley, but I'm not necessarily sold on it. I do want to ask you, do you think they're doing a tag with Ray and Santos? I know you brought it up a little bit last week, but Ray and Santos and maybe Priest and Dominic?
It's possible. I'd rather they just do Ray and Dom
I agree.
in a singles hair versus mask match.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to see that. But with them not having Ray and Dom, Ray beating up Dom yet, maybe they do the tag match and then do the hair versus mask at Backlash.
Yeah.
I can see them pushing that back until then. I don't know. That might make more sense for just not rushing things, but I still would rather see the singles match. But
Yeah.
with what we're seeing on TV, I think that might be the direction. I actually think that's a good prediction.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, or as Andrew said, you could do Santos and Ray's corner to kind of offset Priest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be good too. Trying to think if there's anything that we need to add from last week. We had the Intercontinental Triple Threat, which I know Drew challenged Gunther. I think Andrew was talking about it. He did it via Twitter, so that'll probably be folded in. I don't know what you do. It feels like the Brawling Brutes and Imperium should be on there somewhere, but obviously they're not going to be facing the Usos, so it's like, do you do a big tag match or?
I kind of think if there's a triple threat and there's not going to be a DQ match and a DQ triple threat, those guys are just there to take bumps.
That's fair.
Add some, extra sort of oomph to the triple threat.
Okay. Let's see, what else do we have from last week? I think those are like the only real big changes as far as moving and shaking from WrestleMania from last week to this week. I think we're still kind of set on the top 8 or so matches. Should be interesting to see kind of what they bring forth this week. I think we're both looking forward to it. We move on to our new segment here, inspired by Booker T. We give our Fed 5. And a little tough this week to pick 5 wrestlers who I think really showed out. Obviously we said what we said about Raw at this point. I want to give the 3 Imperium guys a spot here, just because I think, again, that match was great. I really enjoyed that match. I think they did a great job. It was a great opener. So let me put those 3 guys on mine. And then for the other 2 spots, again, this is where it gets tough because there wasn't a ton that I enjoyed on SmackDown or Raw, for that matter, which is going to happen some weeks. It is what it is. Oracle, you got 2 more that stood out to you this week?
I'll give a nod to Jimmy Uso, who I thought has kind of been in the background a lot for this Bloodline stuff, and he kind of had a week where he could kind of stand out. It was kind of his night to do that on SmackDown, and he did a good job.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's 4, and we need 1 more to get to 5 here. I think.
It's tough, especially on a weaker week of TV.
Yeah, I almost kind of want to put Edge in there because that match was good. Like, I enjoyed Theory and Edge. I don't want to put Theory on there, so Sammy could be on there too.
Dom is entertaining as a character. I don't know if I necessarily want to put him there, but he is definitely entertaining.
Yeah, we'll put Dom. That's fine. Yeah, so the 3 Imperium guys, Jimmy Uso and Dominic Mysterio. It's our inaugural Fed 5.
There we go.
Before we wrap up, and I wanted to bring this up earlier, they announced that they're bringing back the King and Queen of the Ring. Looks like Memorial Day weekend. Pretty fired up for that. I always enjoy the King of the Ring. It doesn't seem like it'll all be single night, but probably semis and finals. And it's kind of a nice, like, if it's a full pay-per-view, cool. If it's just that stuff, that's also fine. Now that you have Peacock. So you got any early picks for either one?
That's gonna be a big weekend with King of the Ring and then of course Double or Nothing. But they need to make another. They really need to kind of find another female star Rhea can be made if she wins Mania,
Yeah.
but that's a whole other discussion. We'll dig deep into that here in the coming weeks. But they've got Bianca, but I don't know how many more years she has on top. Because she's been on top for 2 years now, and she might have 2 more or whatever. But got Rhea. Liv is kind of trying to break out, and she's close,
Yeah.
but not really. They need to have somebody who can have this win really be meaningful, which is always,
Mm.
a tall task when it comes to WWE and their booking, particularly when in terms of coming off of victories and stuff. They really struggle. I don't know. Raquel might be a good option, even though I'm not the biggest fan. I feel like they want to make her,
Mm.
on the men's side. Oh man, that's tough. Montez Ford is always an option that we all throw out there.
Yes.
Another thing is when they do this stuff, can we cut out the cartoonish? Now they got to act like a king or a queen for 9 months.
Mm.
I hate that shit.
Yeah, I think we could do without that. Yeah, I think if you're gonna go with someone on the men's side, Gunther does make a lot of sense right now, just because it feels like he's probably going to be world champion at some point this year. If you want to do King of the Ring and then world champion, that's perfectly fine. I think on the women's side, Io Sky is someone you could really do a lot with, and that because I don't think she's going to be with Dakota for a long time. We've kind of talked about this before. Like, I don't know that Damage Control is necessarily going to be around. I think they're both talented enough to have like a singles run each. So either of them, I think, could be really compelling Queen of the Ring. There are, of course, a couple call ups you can make and push them immediately, but you run a risk when you do that. But yeah, I think if I had to guess right now, it'd be Gunther and Io.
Those are good guesses. I suppose Gunther's a really good guess, particularly if Sheamus were to pin Drew, right?
Mm-hmm.
And win the title, like our predicted triple threat. I think Gunther would probably be the number one option there. Now that I think about it and thinking about what we might see at Mania. Yeah, I like the idea of Io more, but I still think Raquel is also a good option.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it does kind of feel like those are really going to be your big three as far as the women. Men's call ups, it's hard.
Zoe's going to be there after Mania. I mean, she's already working the house shows, so I mean, she's
yeah, and Casey and Caden, they've been rumored for like 2 years now. So
yeah, I think Roxanne won't be caught up for another like 2 years. That's just how they operate.
She's ready, but I mean, she's also what 21 or whatever.
Mhm.
Like you do have some time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it for me. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on here?
No. Join us on Tuesday for Green
Yes.
Grappler, Paul White. 7 matches for each foot.
A fight for each foot. Yes.
Yeah, there we go. A fight for each foot. I think it's what is it? The Giant and Lex Luger versus Hogan and Rodman at Bash of the Beach 97.
Mm-hmm. Your Buried
Big
Alive
Show and
tag
Taker
match
versus Rock and Sock. Buried Alive SmackDown, September 9th, 99. Oh gosh.
The Brock match at
Yeah, the
Survivor
Brock
Series
match with Survivor
2002.
Series 02.
The Flair match from ECW, which was 2006, July 2006, I believe.
Mm-hmm. July 2006.
Floyd Mayweather at WrestleMania 24. And then I don't remember the last two. I think it's Sheamus and...
It's Mark Henry from Vengeance 2011 and Sheamus from Hell in a Cell 2012.
There we go. So yeah, check those out. I know Joe tweeted it earlier today or yesterday, so if you want to follow along, probably be a lot like Goldberg, where it's not going to be 30-minute matches that we're watching either. So
yeah,
that's nice. You catch Fleet Week. I believe they're lined up shortly after this.
Yeah, very very soon, right after us. Like it will be every Sunday.
Yes.
Next week, I guess we'll do it on air. I don't know if you're busy, but Bobby, but we'll probably have to do the show around 3 or so, because it's pay-per-view Sunday, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, we'll be fine. We'll do that.
So we'll be on a little bit earlier because it's pay-per-view Sunday.
Yes. Late Night Grin on Thursday. I think it's the first Ring of Honor show, so we'll probably talk about that. And then Revolution, we'll do some previews. Joe and Jay Show will be on. I don't know if they're Tuesday or Thursday this week, but one of those days. Shoot and Joe have their WCW relaunch on Fridays, which was very entertaining if you didn't check the first one out. Yeah, other than that, stay tuned to Twitter and all that, and you know where to find us. And hope you enjoyed this show. And in the meantime, enjoy the outro if I can find it here. I always struggle to find it. Okay. And we'll see you next week.